Welcome to I Got You podcast. Welcome again, Keia, for joining me again. I know we already did one with with three of you, but while we were doing that podcast, I kind of got a little confused with some of the initials you were throwing out and some of the things that we were talking about, the different types of cancer there were.
Yeah.
So that's why I invited you back on to just, break it down a little bit to tell me exactly what type of cancer you had and just, you know, give us a little bit of idea the different types. But
Yeah.
my first question to you is, can you explain the type of breast cancer you were diagnosed with
Yes.
and what those terms mean and
Yeah. So, I mean, until you go through it, you're really ignorant to the fact of you and I was, of course, that all breast cancers are the same, or it's just one breast cancer, but that's not the case. There's a couple. So for me, I had 30% ER positive, which is estrogen positive receptor, meaning that estrogen is what fed the cancer. So with the different type of breast cancers, the reason there's multiple is it tells the oncologist or it tells what feeds the cancer, right? So the ER positive, I had 30%, which was estrogen positive, which meant that my estrogen was feeding the cancer. So hormones were, tied into that. The biggest one was triple negative. So triple negative is one that's it's negative of estrogen, it's negative of progesterone, which
yeah,
yes,
progesterone.
and HER2 negative also. So those are like hormones that feed it. So it's negative to all of those. So with that one, they don't know what feeds that cancer.
Oh, so you had two different types of cancer?
One was 30. I had 30% of estrogen, and then the other 70% was ER positive. I mean, it was triple negative. The thing is with that, what I learned is triple negative is more predominant in African American women, at a younger age, because most people know breast cancer to be an older
Yeah.
person's cancer. And it's also predominant in Hispanic women, more so African American, but Hispanic women as well. So that's something else I learned. With triple negative, it's more aggressive. Um, about 6, 7 years ago, they really didn't have the key to how to really treat it. So a lot of women in the past passed away from triple negative breast cancer.
Really?
Yeah. So
Just
now, hmm?
just 6 years ago, you were saying
Yeah,
they didn't.
I think my doctor said about 6 or 7 years ago. So in a very, I would say under 10 years for certain. The thing is with ER positive, they know that a hormone feeds it, so it's a little bit easier to treat. The problem with ER positive or estrogen receptor breast cancer is that it can come back at any time. That's one of those that it could come back in 1 year, it could come back in 10 years, it could come back in 20 years, right? With
Mhm.
triple negative, it's more aggressive, it grows a lot faster. But with that one, typically, if it doesn't come back within the first 5 years, it typically does not come back. So, with ER positive breast cancer, I have to still be on a medication for at least 5 years to try to stop my hormones, try to cut out my body from receiving estrogen and things of the sort. With triple negative, um, they just do a different, really aggressive chemotherapy for that one, and there's no medicine on the backside.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
So, when you first heard the diagnosis, did your doctor break it down to you like how you're breaking it down to me now? Did she tell you the difference between the different cancers?
So there was so much going on, and I was still in disbelief. Like, there's no way I'm healthy. There's no way I have cancer. Um, I remember her saying initially she thought only ER positive. So she's like, "Good news, we can treat that. We'll just turn off your hormones and there's a high survival rate." So I'm like, "Okay." Then she comes back in and she goes, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake." She's like, "It's actually triple negative, which is a little bit harder, but you're young and you're healthy and you're going to beat this." So I could tell the difference pretty much in her confidence with the ER positive versus the triple negative because, like I said, a few years prior to my diagnosis in 2022, it was very hard to treat triple negative breast cancer and to stop it from metastasizing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So
Metastasizing, sorry.
and did this run in your family? This
So
cancer?
So this is the thing. I had no clue because it wasn't my mom, it wasn't my sisters, it wasn't my grandparents. It was down the line. Great aunts, people that I had never met. Either they passed away before I was born or they passed away when I was young. And no one spoke of it because it was so far down the line. None of my cousins, first cousins, have or had breast cancer. But another fact that I learned is female cancers, along with male prostate cancers, are hand in hand when it comes to the gene pool for breast cancer, right? So my dad was fighting prostate cancer at the same. Well, he was diagnosed a little bit before I was diagnosed for breast cancer. So we actually was going through treatment at the same simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me, my aunt had ovarian cancer. I think it was ovarian cancer. It was one of the female cancers. And she passed away of that, but no one knew that they went hand in hand.
Yeah. Until you told me that, I had never heard of that before.
Never
And
heard of it. Yeah.
even today, I was telling a friend of mine, and he is into teaching prostate cancer to people.
Yeah.
And I said, my friend told me that, if the men had prostate cancer, it could feed into the. He's like, no, it's not like that. So I had to look it up and cut and paste and send him the study, and he was in shock. So a lot of guys don't know that. A lot of people don't know that.
Well, I
So you
think another
told me that.
a lot of people don't know that. I think another thing that we don't know is breast cancer is not just for women. There males can get breast cancer, although it's not as, you know, it's not as common, but males can also get breast cancer. I think there's a lot of things that people really don't know, even if they're professionals, when it comes to breast cancer, female cancers, prostate cancers.
That's true. Because I'm telling you, he was in shock. He's like, "We teach this stuff." I said, "How are you teaching it? You didn't know this?" But I
Yeah.
may because they're not worried about the female breast cancer, they would probably have never researched anything else dealing with the female, just the prostate.
Yeah. And I think I said previously when we spoke, um, I think a lot of healthcare providers' mindset is, well, if you're not 40, then it's not breast cancer, right? Like, there's no way you can have breast cancer at 23 or 32. And that's not the case anymore. People are getting breast cancer a lot younger.
Right. Because
People are
just
getting breast cancer in their 20s and their 30s. And the problem is, a lot of healthcare providers refuse to do mammograms because they don't think that it's breast cancer.
right. Because I just spoke to Kiana had it in her 30s, and then another person that I just met, a female that I met on base, she was in her 20s. And then she doesn't wanna talk about it because she went through such a hard time with it as well, and she was in her 20s, so with that, that's one of the things I guess I want you to advocate for is doing your own breast exams, right?
So it's one is doing your own breast exams, super important because that's how I found mine. And I found mine by the time I found mine, it had already progressed to my lymph nodes. So it had been in the breast, but there was never anything that would have remotely had me to think that it was cancer in my breast because I didn't have a lump, I didn't have soreness, I didn't have any leakage. Some women experience where their nipple kind of inverts. I didn't have any of that. There was nothing. I didn't have any bleeding. Nothing. I felt it in my lymph node. Had I not felt it under my arm in my lymph node, I would have never known that the cancer was in my breast. Never felt. I had two masses in my breast. Never felt either one of them when I did my self exam. They didn't do any more breast exams, so they did multiple biopsies. And then I had an ultrasound and I had multiple biopsies. I had an ultrasound. And I had multiple mammograms, and the mammograms were different than the mammograms that we typically get. Like they were a lot more aggressive, like really pushing down on the breast, different angles, turning the body different ways, and stuff like that. I never felt the lump in my breast.
Does
Never.
the doctor say, because especially if you have, was it fibrous breasts?
Yeah.
Is that harder for people with that type of breast to feel the lumps, or is that one
I'm
of the
not,
reasons?
you know what? That's a good question. I've never asked that question and I've never researched or looked into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. And I really didn't think about that until we're speaking now. That I never felt the lumps or the mass in my breast. And nothing looked different. The only thing when I look back upon, I was really, really fatigued. I was more tired than normal, but, I mean, I was the command master chief in Japan, so I had a huge job. My husband was deployed, and at the time, I think Kyron was 7 years old. So I'm thinking I'm just stretching myself very, very thin, and I'm really, really busy. So I thought I was just tired from like overworking, being a mom, and trying to take care of myself as well. Never thought that something was wrong, you know? Oh, and another thing, my hair was thinning, but I
Ah,
thought it was because we just moved from Spain to Japan, so I thought it was the water. I felt like, okay, it's different types of water treatment, so my hair just has to adjust, and I thought once my hair adjusts to this water, then it's gonna be fine. So it was like shedding. It was shedding a lot.
wow. So there was nothing, no nipple pain, no breast pain, no lumps until it got to your lymph nodes. So now that's a stage 2, right? Once it starts going outside of your breast and going into your lymph nodes, right?
Yeah, it could yeah, it's usually, stage 2 once it moves. So I felt tenderness in my lymph nodes, and that's how I recognized it because I put my hand under there, like, "Ooh, it's sore under here." And when I did, I felt the mass then. But me working in healthcare, I automatically assumed, okay, it's a lymph node. My body's trying to fight off some type of infection. COVID was still a thing. So I'm like, okay, maybe my body's trying to fight off COVID. And, my lymph node is just irritated by it. So that's what I thought. I didn't really think much of it until a few days later. It was still pretty tender. And I felt it again. And I'm like, this shouldn't be this elevated to where I can feel that lymph node like that. And so that's kind of what actually some friends in Japan is what made me go and say, "You really need to go get checked and you need to get that looked at. If it's nothing, it's nothing."
Right, right.
Mhm.
Wow. So what was the hardest part of treatment and what helped you get through it?
So the hardest part of treatment was chemo, because I had to start out with a super aggressive chemo because of the triple negative diagnosis. Um, I started out my first from mid August until mid November. I started out with chemo once a week. And every 3rd week, I had to do a 4-hour chemo. That 4-hour chemo was brutal. It was really brutal. In the beginning, chemo wasn't that bad, and I thought, this is not that bad. I got this. But the more and more chemo I got, it became more and more um, challenging, right? On the body. On the body. Mid November, I started doing chemo, a different type of chemo medication. Um, and that was once every 3 weeks. So from mid November until I think about January 17th ish, I did every 3 weeks. That every 3 weeks whooped my butt. It was really hard. It was really hard because it seemed like every time I got chemo, a new issue came up with my body.
Uh,
Like for instance, I had these back spasms like you never, ever, ever could imagine. They gave me meds and it stopped. I didn't develop neuropathy until I started that stage. I started getting like sores in my mouth. They weren't painful, but they were annoying. I knew they were there, like the back of my throat,
right.
the roof of my mouth. I started getting like sores and things in my mouth, my fingernails and my feet, my hands and my feet, the fingernails started turning black. Some of them started falling off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, just so many different little things. That I experienced, like my vision, it started messing with my vision. Because the thing that most people don't realize is chemo affects your nerves, and we don't realize that we have nerves in our mouth, in our feet, in our fingers. We have nerves everywhere. So anywhere that you have nerves, the chemo affects, right? And that's why
Mhm.
you lose your hair. That's why people lose their hair,
Mhm.
and things like that.
Yeah,
So the chemo was challenging. The first, when I was doing once a week, it wasn't as bad, but that once I got into the 3 weeks, and it was also because I had so much chemo on my body at the time that I
yeah.
started doing the 3 weeks, it just added on to it and kind of layered it
Right, right.
to make it challenging. I had a hard time eating.
Yeah,
That was really, really, really tough. But I was on so much steroids that I gained weight. So when people saw me, nobody really knew other than if they saw that I didn't have on a wig and I had no hair, no
yeah,
eyebrows, no eyelashes.
yeah. So you
Um,
lost all that too, yeah.
yeah, no hair, no hair, none. I had
Yeah,
3 eyelashes. I had 2
yeah.
on one
You
eye and
counted
1 on
them?
the other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Um, but weight-wise, no one would have ever guessed because I wasn't skinny. Instead, I was gaining weight because I was on such a heavy dosage of, steroids.
What helped you get through that time?
Faith, family,
Mm,
and
yeah,
people. And when I say family, my friends to include you, people that I really consider like my closest friends, my sailors, past and present, friends, people just like sending me positive text messages, messenger, calls, cards, gifts. Like, I'm not very good at accepting gifts, but people didn't care. They just did it. The love that I felt was amazing. Like, if something were to ever happen to me, I know that I am truly loved on this earth.
yeah, yeah, you are.
Um, the messages, when things would get really, really hard, I would go back and read some of the messages on how I impacted somebody's life, what I did for them that I never even knew, or just someone sending me scripture,
Yeah,
positivity. Those things helped, and just knowing that my faith in God, I couldn't allow that to falter.
right. Girl, you were so strong through this whole thing, though. Some of the stuff you were posting on Facebook and encouraging other people while you were going through this. That's why a lot of people always say, "Oh my God, you're such a strong woman." And I know that's a thing, a cliche,
Yeah,
right? People
yeah.
always say, and they don't understand what you're going through. But you were motivating people during your time of need, you know? And I think
Which
that's why people show you love because they're like, "Oh my God, how could you be going through all of this?"
Yeah.
You know, and still motivating others.
I think there's a blessing in helping others, right? And so helping others, or at least attempting to help others, helped me because it gave me a sense of normalcy, because cancer changes your life. It takes control. You no longer have control over yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, right? And so you grab for little things that give you that sense of normalcy. And so for me, that provided a sense of normalcy because that's who I am. I like to help people, and things. So it took my mind off of what I'm going through and keeping me from getting depressed or really sad,
No,
to
that's true.
say, you know what, if I can just do something to help somebody else. So now my
Yeah,
mind isn't focused on the poor me or look at what I'm going through. Although there were some times that I really did struggle. I struggled a lot, but I had a hard time letting people know that, hey, I'm really struggling
right, right. Wow,
because, as women, and probably even more so as women of color, we really have a hard time saying, I need help.
true.
I'm having a hard time. I'm struggling. I don't know how to do this. Um, I think it's a situation where, and you probably experienced the same thing when you lost Naya,
Huh.
is you don't know what you need. So you don't really necessarily know how to tell people what to do for you.
True, true. I'd
Yeah.
rather go in a little corner and sit there by myself.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
like I said, you don't know what to ask for. You don't even know what you need most of the time, honestly.
You don't know what you need. And then it's a weird thing because you don't know what you need, but sometimes when people say or do something, you kind of feel you get a little bit upset until you step back and realize, like, this person is only trying to help me and they don't know what to say or they don't know what to do, you know? And I think that's something I really had to learn too, because when people would say things like, you're going to lose your hair, but don't worry because you have a beautiful face,
Mhm.
or, okay, when you get a mastectomy, that's saving your life, but guess what? You get new breasts anyway. So at least you get new breasts. Those things were not helpful
Mhm.
because no matter what, no matter if I'm beautiful or not beautiful, it's a journey that I'm on. And that's where my mind was going. The fact
So
that this is a journey and this is a tough journey and this is a part of that journey.
yeah, yeah, wow.
Getting new breasts is not like an elective surgery to where you go and just say, "Oh, you know what? I want a bigger cup size,"
Right.
or
Not
"I
like
want
you
my
chose
breasts
it.
to be
Yeah,
perky." Like, it's a loss. You are losing something to gain something, and even when you gain that, it may not even be the same. Like, your breasts my breasts will never look like what they did before. You know what I mean? And even within that, that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother situation.
right,
Yeah,
right. What would you want people to know too, right? Yes, you're a survivor, but what do you want people to know about what life is like after
yeah,
going through the breast cancer,
yeah.
fight?
So my life is not the same. Like, it will never be the same. Cancer tried to steal my life. It took so much away from me. And it's like now I'm dealing with all the aftermath of the chemo, the immunotherapy, the radiation, the multiple surgeries, and just the mental side of that fight, right? Um, the neuropathy,
Mm,
um, just the fear sometimes of recurrence, or am I missing something? The fatigue. It's just a lot of stuff that comes along with the tail end of things. For us, for cancer survivors, when you're going through it, it's like you're watching the world go past and you're at a standstill. When you get past everything, I feel like that's where the hard work truly comes in, because now mentally you have to find the new you and mix that a little bit with the old you,
right, right, right.
and then people that haven't gone through it, they don't, they want to help you, but they don't truly understand the loss. It's like you lost a person, you
Yeah.
lost yourself, and now you're
So,
trying to regain that person.
right. That makes sense. What would you tell the women or other men? Because, like you were just saying, men get breast cancer too, but they probably don't even never even heard of it, right? What would you tell them moving forward, especially about doing breast exams and
So
being an advocate for yourself too, especially if you're younger or it runs in your family, being an advocate when the doctors say no.
so definitely get mammograms if you're 40 and over. Um if something doesn't feel right, you know your body better than anybody else. Never accept, "No, I don't think it's anything. No, it's not anything." Go get a second opinion or ask for a different type of test. Like, you absolutely have to advocate for yourself. That's something that I really learned, that if you don't advocate for yourself, it may cost you your life. The other thing is, if something doesn't seem right, ask for an ultrasound. Can I get an ultrasound on that breast to just double check to make sure? Or can I get a biopsy? Of course, these things depend upon what you feel or what you see or what you think. But ask the questions, press the issue if you have to, because oftentimes doctors miss breast cancer. They miss it, or they tell you you can wait 6 months. Never wait 6 months. Go back and get another test or ask for some type of secondary test, because
Right.
that
Right.
6 months could mean the difference between stage one, stage three, or stage four.
Yeah. Yeah.
Waiting, it depends on how aggressive the cancer is.
Right.
So I would tell anyone, advocate, do self exams, do your mammograms, and
Yeah.
ask questions if you're uncertain. Um, Try to find out your history, because that's very important, because you can do some preventative things if you know that there's a history there.
Like what?
So, some women go if they know that some that they carry a BRCA gene. So, for instance, if your mom and dad both had some type of cancer, you may carry a gene. You may carry a
Mm,
BRCA gene. So, there's BRCA1 and there's BRCA2 gene mutation. If so, what that means is it makes you more prone for certain cancers. You may be more prone for ovarian cancer. You may be more prone for pancreatic cancer. You may be more prone for breast cancer. So
mm,
if you go and get that test, it gives you an idea. And some women go and have their breasts removed. It's
mm.
prophylactic. They go have their breasts removed. They go and get a hysterectomy. So therefore, hopefully, they never have to experience that.
This estrogen. Okay, that makes
So
sense.
the other thing is with that test, a lot of providers don't want to do it. But what I found out doing a little bit of research is you can go and get that test, have that test done for I think $200 to $300. You can pay for it out of pocket. It used to be really expensive, but I don't think it's very expensive anymore. So you can have that test done just to kind of see, if you carry that gene.
You say you sorry, you say your doctors won't order it for you?
My doctor
It's
ordered it for me because
other
I
people.
already had breast cancer.
Right, right.
But I do know some people. One of my friends, her mom passed away from triple negative breast cancer. Her dad has prostate cancer. Um, Her mom and dad were a little bit older when they were diagnosed. So they look at it as okay, if your parents were older, then therefore you're not at risk. But that's not true. That's not true because, again, the people that, my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer at a later stage. My aunt, his sister had was at a younger stage for, female cancer, but my great aunts and all those people, I don't know if they were. I would think that some of them were at a younger stage. I'm not sure. So it's just don't take no for an answer and find out how can you do it on your own if necessary.
Right, yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, Kia, thank you so much for doing this. Like I say, see, I was gonna be short and sweet because you kind of got to the point of everything that we wanted. It explained a whole lot more than what we were doing the three, with three
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
So we understand a lot more about, especially the cancer that you had. So I
yeah.
appreciate you being on again. Is there anything else you think you would want to share with the audience, though?
Um,
That I
I
missed
think
out on any
if
questions?
you know someone that's going through breast cancer, be very patient with them because their hormones, because of the chemo and stuff, could be all over the place. Um, be very understanding that there's days that they just don't feel good. There's some days that they do. Food may not be the same, and a lot of people fall into depression. So, um, ask them to seek help. Get a professional therapist. Ask for someone that is specialized in trauma or someone they're very comfortable with. If the first person doesn't work, then ask for a different therapist. Keep seeking therapy until you get what you need that's going to benefit you because it's going to be beneficial in the long run.
Wow. No, that was good. That's good. Thank you so much, Kia.
You're
Oh,
welcome. Okay.
this was a great conversation. Thanks again, Kia, for sharing your journey with us. Stories like hers remind us that breast cancer is not just a diagnosis, it's a fight, a recovery, and a lifelong lesson in strength. Please do your breast exam. Don't put off your regular screenings. Early detection saves lives. Thank you for spending time with us today. I hope you walk away not just informed, but inspired. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.